Hey, what's up everybody? It's Adriana here, back with another video. And today's word is called the Great Emerge. Now, last night I felt God working inside of me so intensely. I was literally up all night praying and trying to just align with what he was saying, and he finally revealed it to me. And so for those who may not know me, my name is Adriana. I do videos, I do words of encouragement. I am an aspiring professional dancer, entrepreneur, author, all of that above, all of those things. And I'm here on this channel, here to give words of encouragement, words that I believe God has downloaded within me to share with those that may be in the same season or the same situation. And so once again, my name is Adriana, and today's word is called the Great Emerge. And so as I was saying, last night was, I wouldn't say it was warfare. It was a shift happening. And I remember having this similar feeling maybe like a year and a half ago, where I felt like God was literally putting me under construction, and I can feel like the drilling on the inside of me, but it wasn't a bad thing. And so my last video, I talked about how many of us are at our promised land. And with that, still there's training and requirements that God is asking us to do and telling us that we have to do out of obedience in order to get the promise. And so with the Great Emerge, there's so much that goes into it. There's so much that we have to do to stay aligned and to stay focused, because God is calling us higher. And without that being said, the Great Emerge comes from us laying down our old life in order to step into the new. And I know that's something that we're used to hearing, used to saying, and even used to knowing. But when I tell you guys that God is shifting our mindsets and doing something so differently, it's not going to be something that we can just come up with within our heads, or like something that we'll be able to guess. God is doing something completely new. And sometimes that can be a very uncomfortable feeling. Personally, I had a season in my life where I really wanted to be liked. I wanted to be a likable person. I wanted everyone around me to know that I was good, because I was good. You know, I was never perfect, but I had a false mindset, a false cycle that streamed from roots way before I encountered certain people that made me show up differently. It made me become a people pleaser. It made me be good to people that weren't good to me. And it made me like kind of just not value myself the same way that God valued me. And I had to stick that season out and allow God to reveal some things to me, because I felt inadequate. Every time someone did something bad to me, I felt like it was my fault. I can have A to Z, the clues, the details on what someone else did to me, and still on each letter find the reason why I was the problem. I had no problem taking accountability, because it's like, if I can just suck in and be the problem or the issue, I can fix it. I don't want to put that weight on anybody else. But the truth is that there were people who could not maintain or take the light of my life that God instilled within me. So much so that it blinded me to myself. And now that I'm entering into a new season, I have to see myself different. I have to see myself in a way, in a light that God has formed me into in the first place. You know, there's a time where God will allow you to go through certain things and allow you to be around certain people for an appointed time. But there's also another time where he calls you because of his plan and his timing. And sometimes that timing may not match up with what we have planned for our lives. I gave my life to God at the age of 19, but long before that, he was revealing and being there for me and just shifting things to me even as a kid, that now I see, like, God, your favor, your hand has been all over my life. And now as a 24-year-old, I will not overlook it. I will align and do all that you've called me to do, because now I understand it. And so when it comes to laying down your old life, it can cause you to be bitter and regret so many things that you've encountered that were good things. People don't talk about that when you are really and I don't mean, guys, like, I mean like you're really changing. Like, I don't mean that you're about to step into a new career. I don't mean that you're about to move to a new city and you're still going to be the same. No, when you are stepping into what and who God has called you to be and what to do, it changes your whole formula of life. What I'm talking about, the emerge, I'm talking about is shedding off everything, family included, things that are way too normal, things that are too predictable to align with what you cannot see. That deals with mindsets. That deals with relationships. That deals with limitations. But most of all, it deals with you. God has chosen us. And so many times in our life, we feel like we have to be chosen by God and prove to him that it's us that has chosen him. We don't have to prove anything to him. All we have to do is align with his instructions and give him our yes. And sometimes saying goodbye to the old you is the hardest thing ever. I mean, last night I was so emotional. Last night I was literally weeping because, like, I realized that I've been in a season of my life where I've been trying to hold on to the old me, stick up for the old me, be there for the old me, even though the new me is so different, redeemed, and has a totally different life. I'm like, I have to be there for me because I remember how I once felt. But God had me look in the mirror last night, and I realized that I still had her here. But the season and the plan that God has for my life requires me to be different and authentically her. I have no time to continue to try to undo or make up for time that seemed to be lost. There's so many times where I've had completely new circumstances and I brought the same motives, same feelings, the same doubts to those areas, and I've delayed myself because of what I thought I missed back then. But I had to come to her, come to me, to my inner self, and tell her that you can trust me. You can trust who you are now. Because God is with you as he's always been. But you know who you are now. You didn't let people destroy you. No matter how many rumors, lies, failed friendships, relationships, you stuck through it all. You remained kind-hearted. You seeked after the Lord, even after all the warfare and destruction in your life. The persecution, the words, the setbacks. You kept going. It took a version of me to go through that. And it took another version of me to overcome it. And that is who I decide to be. I decide to be who I became through it, not who I was before it. But I still reward her and honor her because God's called her in the first place. I don't have to say goodbye to something that I am. I was literally there weeping in my closet, so upset. Like, how can I let myself go? Why do I feel like I have to let go of this version of me when all she wanted was saving and defending and love? But God opened up my eyes. He revealed and recovered my sight, and I finally saw myself for the first time in years. And I realized that I am her, that she was never dead. She rose above so many things because the same spirit that lifted up Jesus, the Holy Spirit, is the same spirit that lies in me. And so the funeral, the things that people wanted to show up to for my demise, I didn't have to show up to, because it never was meant for me to die that way, to ever be defeated that way. See, when you're called by God, even when you feel like you're not doing something right, He allows His plan to prosper anyway. Weapons may form, but you got to know that there's an army behind you too. There's so many things that I felt like I've left unfinished. And so many things that God has revealed to me throughout these years that you would think would drive a person crazy. And the whole time, I'm not even mad about the situations. Sometimes we can get mad at the fact that we're still good after that. How can I still feel good or want to be good to people? It's people. But you have to realize that the energy, the things that happen supernaturally. That people may be being used, but you're going against principalities. There are spirits connected and attached to people that we cannot see. And that's a lot for anybody, young, old, whatever age, to go through and feel alone. But the thing about it is, we are never alone. That's why we are here now. And so if you have ever experienced a situation where everybody, or it felt like everybody was against you, and you felt like you missed out on so much in that season, know God has a specialty of redeeming things in such a way that it's new and improved. I had watched a video of a woman talking about Joseph, and she had mentioned that God ordained the pit in the prison for Joseph. It wasn't his enemies. It may seem like things prosper and have happened to you, but even the setbacks, the persecution, if God could give us his only begotten son and watch him go through it and him be like the king of all kings, and watch his son give his life for us, there's going to be certain things that God will allow to happen because of his plan. Not because people were right about you, not because you deserve that treatment, but because it gives him the opportunity to show up on your end and his end. It's all in his word. Like I said, it does with the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit has to do what it was sent to do. You are very much so alive. You are very much so better off. And this is why the emerge is happening, because your mindsets are changing. You're realizing that you have a decision to make, and you're going to make the right decision no matter how long it takes. Jacob was running all of his life, and it came to a point where he had to wrestle himself, even God, and he overcame that fight, mainly for himself, so he can stop running. And so God is calling some of you today to step into the great emerge, where you may not have all your questions answered, but you will align with such an amazing part of your life. I mean, you guys, you just don't know what I've been through as a person. And like I always say, there's always worse, but I could be out of my mind. I could be on a Kill Bill mission. Have mercy, Lord. But the goodness and favor of God, of his love, he has a way of just saving those that he knows that needs him by just showing them that he loves them. Love sticks. Love is the only thing that sticks no matter what. And some people that have done things to us don't know what that love feels like because they don't see it. And that's why it's so important to forgive. Like, So important to forgive, because there's so many people that are in grown people bodies, that are grown adults, that are still innocent 4-year-old children, that are still victim to their trauma and don't know how to function, that don't see God. And that's why God chooses people like us to go through things.